Hi, it's John Hassan, Executive Editor for American Business Media. I'm here with Scott Spatz, the President of Cooperative Systems in Windsor, Connecticut. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. When you come to a show like the Great New England Credit Union Show, what are the goals for your company? What do you hope to get out of the day?
So a big thing for us is kind of just to be here and talk with both current clients and prospective clients about state of technology and kind of some of the latest things that we're working on. Continue to ensure them that the things that we do from a day-to-day perspective are appropriate and well benefited for their operation and helping them achieve their goals.
What are some of the particular issues right now that credit unions are facing when it comes to IT and security?
Yeah. So some of the things, like we attended a couple breakout sessions this morning, and we're talking about some of the new technologies that both businesses and credit unions are using. All these different applications that are out there in the technology space today. One of the biggest challenges we're seeing, and some of the current things we're working on, is access to all those applications and managing access to those applications. And how do you securely do that? How do you maintain all of those different usernames, passwords securely? How do you manage from an IT department perspective? How do you manage all those usernames and passwords? So that was kind of a big component of what we see in the space and what we're working on today.
Right. And you also advise on regulatory issues?
We do, yes. So
and how does that? Because that's an interesting IT angle. Like, is it certain things that they have to have in place, and you sort of advise them on that, or where does your advice come from?
Yeah, compliance certainly plays a big role in the credit union space, and we're very aware of that, very involved in NCUA regulations and annual audits and attestations as it relates to their requirements. And certainly good security policies and practices, more importantly, are what we advise our credit union clients on. Right. And again, one of those namely components that we've been working on is some technologies called like single sign-on. There's been a lot of development in that space in the technology world over the past couple years with centralized access and centralized control that you can in one spot manage all of your different access methods into your cloud-based platforms, your internally hosted platforms, your vendor platforms. So you have all these different usernames and passwords that you use to access all these different systems. You have to remember all these different passwords. You have password change policies for all these different platforms. How do you manage regulatory? All those? Yeah, right. So password complexity, password rotation policies.
Yeah, right.
How do you securely maintain those passwords, and take that and multiply it by all the different applications that you need to access in your day-to-day to do your job, right? And that's a problem for both staff in the credit unions. That's a problem for the IT departments, because you're both trying to manage all of these different access methods.
Right.
And there's technologies that exist today, again, that kind of a big component of what we're doing, of how do you better securely manage those, and how do you use single sign-on technologies, how do you use multi-factor authentication to identify you are who you really are, and better manage those so you're reducing calls to the help desk of password resets. That's inefficient for you.
Scott,
as
I forgot
an employee.
My password.
Right, it's taking up your day.
Yeah,
you're not being efficient. It's taking up the help desk staff's day, where they could be working on more beneficial things for the organization. So there's a lot of efficiency gains by having these technologies in place that can benefit the credit union.
I went to an interesting presentation yesterday, and let me get your take on one of the things they said. How far do you think we are from voice-activated security and log-on? Like, in other words, the man said, his son will think to touch something is ridiculous. Because he'll say, well, why don't I just... They'll be used to voice activation in a way that you and I aren't.
Right.
Do you think that's coming fast?
I think it's a ways off still.
Oh, you do?
I mean, the controls around that, the reality of integrating those are pretty high-tech technologies that have been only a little bit integrated in with today's mainstream technologies.
Right.
And while there's retina scanning, there's facial recognition, there's voice as you said, fingerprinting. Right. we use those in our devices today, our handheld devices, which are where they've really come about in mainstream technology. How they get then integrated into computer-based and cloud-based and server-based technologies is kind of yet to be developed further and integrated into your mainstream technology. But it is certainly the way the industry is going.
Yeah, and I have to say, I use Bank of America, and they have this thing, Erica, which I find to be, I don't need it a lot, but I find it a pretty good interface. Like, I tap and I say, can you get me my Detroit Hilton, bill, and it comes up,
Yep.
But I don't talk to them. But I'm telling you, when I interact with utilities and things like that, a cable company, the gas company, it's a quagmire of desperation and sadness. It's awful.
Yeah, because
they don't know I can't get them to say that I'm me.
Yeah.
And if I just said John Hassan, West Hartford, Connecticut, oh, welcome, John. How can we help you?
Yeah.
Right. Am I too old to see that day, or will it?
I don't think it's that far off.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's certainly in the coming years where we'll be able to use some of those more advanced technologies in your mainstream. It's integrating the artificial intelligence into it, right? It's everything's response driven, right? So you call any organization, banking, and it's response driven. So you say something, and it can only do so much,
Right,
with what you're telling it or how you're responding and corresponding with it. So I think we'll get there.
Right. Good. And when you deal with credit unions, do you deal more with their internal IT issues and solutions, as opposed to customer facing?
Yeah, mostly internal. So our business model is outsourced managed IT for credit unions.
Gotcha.
So we do everything.
That was concise.
Yeah, we do everything that an IT department would do, effectively, in an outsourced model. So we're heavily involved in obviously managing everything about their day-to-day and taking support requests from their staff and managing their network, managing access to their applications and things like that, but also ensuring that we're well aligned with the credit union's goals and objectives over the coming 1, 3, 5 year period to make sure that whatever technologies you're using today, what technologies they're looking at and looking to invest in going forward, and how that can benefit their members, that we're well aligned with how that's going to be implemented and rolled out for them. Great.
Well, I've been talking to Scott Spatz of Cooperative Systems, and we're at the Great New England Credit Show, and Credit Union Show. And thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a great day.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.